I'm Rachel Heidrick.
And I'm Lori Jonas.
And together we founded the organization 199. It's community reintegration for the survivors of sex trafficking. In 2012, a group of us from Church of the Harvest went on a mission trip to Chiang Mai, Thailand, to work with individuals at Abba House. Abba House they rescue children that have been trafficked. And so that was a unique experience and a trip that Lori and I both happened to be on. In that time, obviously our hearts were wrecked, and it did spur me to, and I think Lori as well,
Yes.
to learn more about trafficking in the United States when I came back. I started looking into trafficking in the United States, which looks a little bit different. I did a little bit of volunteering, and then I took a course actually from Exodus Cry, my daughter and I did, just to learn more. And then at that time, I was working as an occupational therapist, and I did some home health. I used to drive by an old schoolhouse in Stillwell, and I had this vision, what would it be like to make that a coffee shop or a venue, and make a place for survivors that they could go work and start learning how to reintegrate back into the community with support. So that was kind of where that vision began. The Lord worked on me over a course of the years, and in 2019, I felt like He was telling me it was time to get started on it. So when, I was thinking about and praying about individuals that would be a part of this, Lori came to mind, and I saw her after church one day at Church of the Harvest and said, hey, God's put this on my heart. What do you think? She's like, absolutely.
Yes.
And if you know Lori Jonas, when she's in, she's all in.
Yep.
And that's been the case. I mean, from the beginning, we're kind of yin and yang. I mean, I'm the visionary. I'm the let's go do this and let's try this and why not? And Lori's has to reel me in sometimes. She's a big rule follower, and which is all good. I mean, we're just a great balance for each other. It's really made this go forward and do as well as it has. Yeah. So.
So what have your individual roles been in the ministry?
We've shared lots of different roles. For me, I mean, we're both co-founders, obviously, and so just kind of getting the whole program up and running and trying to figure out what that's going to look like. I think both of us have played a pretty big part in that. And then for me, as she said, I am kind of the rule follower. I'm kind of the administrative piece, that organizational piece, the governance piece. So in that regard, I'm also the board president. And so I really largely focus on that part of the program. And I do get to work with the ladies as well, which is great, just in whatever capacity I'm needed in that area. And Rachel's the one who really is boots on the ground running the show day to day.
Yeah. So I'm in the program part of it, we're working with the volunteers and trying to just figure out all the running pieces of it day to day. And then also doing a lot of networking, engaging individuals, getting the word out about our organization is a big piece of it. When you start a nonprofit, God puts I say this all the time, God puts a vision and a dream in your heart, and you're like, let's go. And you have no idea the mountain you're gonna have to climb. And if I'd have known, I probably would have said, no way, I can't do this. But thankfully, He just gives us little chunks at a time. And He's so gracious and good in that way. And I have been tremendously blessed. I know Lori feels the same way, with just the amazing people that we've met and connected with. And not the least of the ladies, the survivors that we work with. They inspire me every day. They're just courageous. They're facing a lot of obstacles. So,
yeah. Another thing we both do is volunteer education. That's super important to us. We knew from the very beginning that we wanted to pour into our volunteers as much as we pour into our participants, because they're the lifeblood. We can't do this without our volunteers. And so that is another piece that Rachel and I have been super dedicated about, is just really pouring into them with education and support and anything they need to feel like they're making a difference and they're supported along the way.
Can you give an example of a moment where you knew you heard from God correctly about this ministry?
Yeah. So we were about a year into developing the organization, and I felt like the Lord was telling me to sell my place and move in somewhere where I could get skinny rent and just go full time for the ministry. At that time, I was working at the hospital. So I was in the process of all that, and one day I woke up and the Lord said, put in your notice today. I felt it in my spirit, and I knew it wasn't me because that's not the way I would do it. So I went to work that morning and I felt a peace. I felt like Pigpen and Charlie Brown, you know, that cloud of peace around me. And so I called Lori and Natalie Harris and I said, hey, I'm feeling like the Lord's telling me to put in my notice today, but this feels like really scary. Can we do a conference call and pray over lunch? And so we did that. And I continued to just feel a lot of peace. I did give my notice that day, and my boss was just so peaceful about it, just encouraging. I knew it was the right thing to do, but it was a huge leap, right? It was because it was 2 years without a paycheck. So, but God has provided. It's been, I mean, He's taken care of me the whole way. So,
that's a good question. I do remember that it was actually on another missions trip that Koth also sponsored. So in 2021, which is the year we actually got our 501c3 status, Koth took a group of us to Roca Blanca, Mexico for a totally different kind of mission trip. It was a medical mission, not anything to do with human trafficking at all. But I was able to go on that with my 14-year-old son, and it was just an incredible group of people that went, and it was an incredible mission trip that kind of seemed to have a theme develop. And the theme of it became that God cares for the one. Well, of course, 199 was already in existence and were named after the parable of the lost sheep. So the whole idea that the shepherd leaves the flock to go after the one that's lost. And this theme just kept circulating during this entire mission trip. And just from having the right medication for the one patient that needed it, or having the right pair of shoes in the right size for the one woman that needed it. And so it was just this constant theme. And so, of course, we're in this very remote portion of Mexico. There's really no Wi-Fi or cell phone access most of the time. But while we're on that trip and this theme is circulating, I get a text from Rachel who says, we have a benefactor who is going to donate a house to us. And it was just, you know, we had done all this planning and all this talking and all this dreaming, but until we had a place, it was just a dream. And so it was just in that moment that God had said, I've been telling you this whole trip, this is the real deal. This is what you're going to do. And now is the beginning of it all. So it was definitely confirmation.
What were the personal doubts, misbeliefs, or disqualifications that came up when this started for you?
Well, I'm not qualified at all. So there's that. And really, Rachel and I both kind of had that heart. We knew that this was not of our own doing because it wasn't anything we could do on our own. And we're not business people, and a nonprofit is a business. And so trying to figure out how to start all of that and manage all that, and knowing that we wanted to do it with excellence. And so, you know, there was some self-doubt in whether or not we were going to be able to do that. But we knew that if the Lord was going to call us to it, that He was going to equip us to do it as well, and He has.
Well, I've never really, like in my profession, I've always been like staff. I've never really been in a leadership position. So although I felt like the Lord had been speaking to me about leadership and I'd done a lot of reading about it, I had a lot of misgivings about leading, and I didn't honestly understand how many people I would be leading. It's not just leading the participants, it's volunteers, it's being out in the community, being in organizations and getting up and speaking. And I've had a lot of self-doubt there, but the Lord has provided every step of the way. So.
Awesome. Can you give an example of a moment where you almost gave up?
I can't really say that I've felt like giving up, but I do remember a moment. It's been probably about a year ago, and more than a moment. When the ladies that we deal with, they have experienced complex trauma, and that's a lot. That's a lot for them to deal with, and it's a lot for them to overcome. And unfortunately, sometimes their stories, even with us, don't go the way we hope that they'll go. And they may choose to leave for various reasons, and usually having to do with the trauma that they've experienced before they've come to us. And there was, about a year ago, there was a participant who really had a struggle and ended up leaving, and it was gut-wrenching. Rachel and I love these women. All of our volunteers, everyone that works with these women, we love them like they're our family. And so when we see one who might make a choice to do something that we think could be harmful, it's horrible. It's gut-wrenching. And I remember about a year ago with that particular participant thinking, I don't know if I can emotionally handle this. It was just, we grieved like we lost a family member.
It's like it's your kids and your heart's broken, and you just have to love, and you have to let go and start over. And it grabs me every time I think about it, because it's hard.
And it's in those moments that are a struggle, but I know that God's called us to it. And so it's in those moments that I just have to really draw in close to Him and really sit at His feet and let Him pour back into me and confirm the call.
What has sustained you during these challenges?
Of course, Jesus, every day, lean in. What do you have for me today? What do you want to tell me about me? What do you want to tell me about you, God? What do you want to tell me about the ladies that I'm working with?
Just to be able to sit at His feet, and Rachel and I pray together, and we support each other. This is in this particular organization, of course, confidentiality is key, right? And so we have each other. We have each other that we can kind of talk to and grieve together and laugh together and plan together and all of those things, and pray together for sure. So it's just being just as close as I can be to Jesus, just in His Word, in His presence, in worship and prayer. It's key. It's key to do any kind of ministry, and especially something that is as emotionally draining as this one can be.
How has COF come alongside and helped your ministry?
How have they not? They've been amazing. They have just supported us financially, encouraged us in every way. The pastors are always encouraging to us, providing a place for us to have our trainings. And a lot of our volunteers are from Church of the Harvest. What I love about Church of the Harvest is that it's so multicultural. And I see that even down in the future for our organization, that we're going to need to be more multicultural. And I believe that God put us at Church of the Harvest for that reason, among many others.
COF's been great. I mean, they've just been supportive from the very beginning. They are a monthly financial partner with us, which is fantastic. They also readily give us their space for any of our trainings, any of our events that we hold. They're super supportive of that. We have a great deal of volunteers that have come out of the COF family, and so they've just invested in us in so many ways. We've been Missionary of the Month, so they've spotlighted our ministry, and it's just been fantastic to have them be partners with us in this.
What advice would you give to someone who feels called to do something like this?
I would say don't shrink back. If the Lord's calling you to do it, follow the leading of the Holy Spirit. And if it is a dream that seems completely crazy and out of left field, it's probably God. So lean in, don't shrink back. He will equip you. He'll bring the resources, He'll bring the people. He'll do it. You just have to be a willing vessel.
Go for it. God's never going to let you down. If He calls you to it, He's going to see you through the whole thing. And He's proven that over and over and over again for us.
What is next for 199?
Well, we have big God dreams. It started as a big God dream, and it continues to be a big God dream. Audacious goals, big audacious goals is what we call them. And so it's growth. We would really, really love to add some multifamily units to the program. So the way the program is structured is they are in our transitional living home for approximately 6 months. And then at that point, we kind of help them move into independent housing. So they're still in our program for 2 years, and they can use our resources and our mentors and things like that. But just because we're community reintegration, that's our goal, right, is to get them into independent housing and living and up on their own 2 feet. So we would like to actually own some multifamily units, and so that can be an easy transition for them. We can make sure that we're still there in community with them and help them with rent assistance and all that kind of stuff. So definitely that. We would love to add some more paid staff in the next year or two. So just growth. We'd like to add another transitional home or two and just see our ability, our capacity grow so that we can serve more individuals.
A lot of things, growth, multifamily units, just being able to bring more ladies in and provide, and down the road, I think we'll be able to serve children in some capacity and men, as the growth happens.